Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you the Audiobooks 2.0 tag. The Audiobooks 2.0 tag was created by Jen over at Today in Jen's Library. Jen is an absolute aficionado when it comes to audiobooks. She reads basically like 90% audiobooks, so I will leave a link to her channel down below. Make sure you guys go check her out. I was actually tagged by two people for this video, Michaela over at Love, Michaela Eve, and Sarah over at Novel Expectations. So I will leave links to both of their channels down below as well. So this tag is obviously all about audiobooks and your audiobook reading / listening. So let's jump straight in and get started. Question number 1, name a book that was better on audio. Now this is kind of a difficult question because I very rarely have experienced a book in both its kind of like print form and its audio form, so it's hard for me to kind of know which would be better. For this, I have gone with Talon by Julie Kagawa. This is a book that I listened to recently on audio, and it was the first book that I'd ever listened to that had like kind of a cast of narrators. The narrators of this audiobook were Caitlin Davies, McLeod Andrews, and Chris Patton. So there are 3 different points of view, and each of the different points of view had a different narrator. Now for me, maybe just because it was the first time I've ever had this, that was a really, really awesome experience, and I really, really enjoyed it. Now I will say, Jen over at Today in Jen's Library actually mentioned in a comment when I talked about this video that she didn't personally enjoy the narration. So it is obviously a personal thing. I personally really enjoyed it. As I said, I found this book to be very slow, and I think it's over 500 pages if I recall, and it doesn't have a whole lot going on in the book. And so for me, that added factor of having like the different voices and stuff just made the story more enjoyable, I think. So that is definitely the one I'm going with for this one. Question number 2, name a book that was worse on audio than in print and you switched. Now for this one, I didn't switch, but the answer that I'm going with is Now You See Her by James Patterson. So as I say, I didn't switch to the print form because I've never actually switched. Like if I'm listening to the audiobook, I've always just pushed through and listened to the whole audiobook. Now, the audiobook of this is narrated by Elena Erica Davis, and it wasn't necessarily the narration, although that I didn't really enjoy either. It was really like kind of the production of the audiobook that I didn't like. It was a kind of like suspense thriller type of story, and there was a lot of music and different kind of like sound effect type things added in, and they were just added in my opinion, in really random parts, and they would try to add in this like suspenseful music, like dun 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 type of thing, and it just really didn't work, and it came across as like really, really cheesy to me. And I don't know that I necessarily would have enjoyed the book more if I'd read it in print, because I personally just didn't think this was that great of a story. But I definitely don't think that the audiobook did anything to improve this already not very good story. Question number 3, your top female narrator and your top male narrator. Now, my top female narrator is definitely January Lavoie. January Lavoie, I have listened to do the narration for The Diviners and Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. She just has this way, she does all of the different voices, and she does them so well. Like, I know exactly who's talking, like of which of the characters, and the atmosphere and stuff that she manages to create through her narration is actually quite amazing. I don't really know how she pulls it off, but she's definitely my favorite female narrator that I have listened to so far. I only got into audiobooks for the first time last year. Actually, Diviners by Libba Bray was the first audiobook that I ever listened to, and so I haven't listened to as many as some people. I do listen to quite a few now, but she's still, having been the first audiobook narrator that I ever listened to, she is still my favorite. Now, as far as top male narrator goes, I don't actually have an answer for this. I will say that 98% probably of the audiobooks that I've listened to have been narrated by women. I have listened to very, very few male narrators, and so far none of them have stood out to me over kind of any of the others, so I just don't really have an answer for that. Question number 4, what is the longest audiobook that you've ever listened to? Now for this, I'm actually not 100% sure. I was reading The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe in physical format, and it was very overdue to the library, and I basically had to return it. And so I decided to get the free trial on Audible so that I could get the audiobook of this book so that I could finish the book, because it was super, super, super long, the physical book is like over 800 pages and the audiobook is over 30 hours, but I didn't listen to the whole thing and I'm not exactly sure actually how much of it I did listen to. So that was quite a long audiobook that is narrated by Karen Cass. But the other longest audiobook that I definitely listened to the whole thing of is actually Lair of Dreams by RatherBeReading. That was about 20 hours on audiobook. Question number 5, the shortest audiobook you've ever listened to. For me, this is Elixir by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is one of the novellas in the Covenant series, I believe it's called. And this one was narrated by Rob Shapiro, and it was 2 hours and 50 minutes. Question number 6 is, how do you listen to your audiobooks? You listen to them on your iPod, your phone, MP3 player, and what kind of earbuds do you like? Now for this, I listen to audiobooks exclusively on my phone. All of the audiobooks that I've listened to, with the exception of that one that I got on the Audible trial, I listen to on Overdrive, on the Overdrive app on my phone. So I just listen to them through that app. And I'm really not picky about earbuds. I just use the earbuds that come with that came with my iPhone. They're just your very general run-of-the-mill. I actually have different ones because I use earphones at work for my computer at work, and they're different to the ones that I use for my phone, but I'm really not fast. I actually struggle with earbuds a little bit. I have this piercing here, the tragus piercing, and that can make earbuds actually a little bit difficult because that piercing's there and it blocks part of my ear. Sometimes I can't get the earbud far enough in and they fall out constantly, which is actually why I'm a bit worried about moving to the iPhone that has the Bluetooth headphones. It doesn't actually have the headphone jack, and so it doesn't have the cord, because if that thing falls out of my ear, which they do all the time, I'll just lose them. So yeah, that went off on a bit of a tangent, but I'm really not too fast on earbuds, and I do listen to audiobooks through my phone. Question number 7, should authors narrate their own books? For me, this really, really depends. When it comes to fiction books, I think that there are probably some authors who could do a really good job with narration, but there are others who really probably couldn't. Like, if I was an author and I had to do the audiobook, I would probably do a terrible job. And it's not that I don't know the subject matter, because obviously I would. It's just that if you don't have that way of being able to just like give meaning to the words like in an audio format, I just don't think that everyone has that ability. When it comes to memoirs, on the other hand, I really do think it adds a lot to the story when it's the person whose story it is reads it, because it just adds that real personal quality to the story. So, but even then, I think there are probably some people who maybe wouldn't do that great of a job of it. I don't know, but so it really for me is just an it depends situation. Question number 8, is there an audiobook that you wish could be redone? By what narrator? For this one, I've decided to go with White Oleander by Janet Fitch. So this is narrated by Oprah Winfrey. And I mentioned this when I reviewed the book, but I just didn't think that Oprah's voice worked for this narration. The main character of this book is a young girl. She ranges, like, she grows up kind of throughout the story, but for the majority of the story, she's probably between like 12 to like 16. And Oprah had she's an older lady. Like, she has like, not older, that sounds really mean. I don't mean like old, but she sounds like a full-grown woman. She doesn't sound like a 12 to 16-year-old girl. And for me, I was very much noticed that as I was listening to the audiobook. I don't really know who I would want to redo this because I'm not familiar with like all the kind of narrators out there. I would actually love if the girl who played the main character Astrid in the movie did the audiobook. I believe that actress's name's Alison Lohman, but the movie's quite old now and I'm sure she's older as well, so that may not work either. But so I don't really have like a choice for this. I just really don't think that it worked for Oprah to do this particular narration. Question number 9, the best audiobook you've listened to or your favorite. So for me, this really is still the very first audiobook that I ever listened to, which is The Diviners by RatherBeReading. I also really enjoyed the sequel, Lair of Dreams. They were both narrated by January Lavoie, and it was like such a great introduction to audiobooks. As I've said before, she was a really, really amazing narrator. The story was really something that I enjoyed, and I just really, really loved this audiobook. And I actually really recommend that people do listen to this on audiobook. In the first book in particular, there is a kind of like serial killer type character, and he has this particular like song or like type of rhyme thing that he does, and you really get that real creepy atmosphere of him kind of whistling and like singing along to it, like in the audiobook, that I don't really feel like you'd get to appreciate as much reading it. So I really do love those audiobooks. Question number 10, what is the most recent book that you've listened to on audio? I'm actually not in the middle of any audiobooks right now, which is quite unusual for me, and the most recent book that I finished was The Lost Hours by Karen White, and this was narrated by Beth DeVree. There is also a bonus question, and that is, what is a book that's not currently on audio that you wish was? Now, I had to do a little bit of research for this question because I don't generally seek out particular audiobooks. I just kind of go through like whatever is available on Overdrive, because to be honest, my library doesn't have the best selection on Overdrive, so I just kind of go with whatever I can get. But I did a bit of searching around on Audible and Overdrive to see kind of what books they had on there. And a book that I searched for that I couldn't find was Dreamland by Sarah Dessen. This is my all-time favorite book by Sarah Dessen. It is a book that I just absolutely adore, and I would actually really love to experience it in a different way on audio. So I would really love if that got made into an audiobook to be like a different way to experience one of my favorite books. So those are all of the questions. Thank you so much to Jen for creating this great tag, and thank you so much to Michaela and Sarah for tagging me. I really appreciate it. I am actually going to tag Jade over at Boho Bookworm. I know that she has recently been getting into a lot more audiobooks, so Jade, if you're interested in answering some fun questions about audiobooks, then give this tag a go. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you have any thoughts about any of the audiobooks that I recommended, or to any of my answers, or if you have any great audiobook recommendations, please do let me know in the comments down below. I would love to know. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That's all I've got for this video today. Bye guys.